Hello, Clutter Warrior. Today we're going to talk about the concept, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I would like to be both. I would like to be right and be happy. And I'm with you. I would like to be right and happy as well. However, particularly when it comes to clutter, and our relationships with other people as it relates to clutter, we are often forced to make a choice between being right and being happy. And look, I live alone. Often the only person I'm arguing with is myself or the world at large. And I too have to pay attention to this concept, because there is a very stubborn part of myself that will demand justice. It will demand certitude, and it will often do it at the cost of my serenity, of my happiness. And when you are looking at the stuff that surrounds you, you have the opportunity as well you can hold on to, again, if you've spent any time with me, you know that I'm not going to take anything away from you. I'm not going to demand that you get rid of anything before you're ready to let go of it. And you always have the opportunity to ask yourself, does this serve me? And there can be a conversation you're having with yourself, right? I mean, one of your 200 lies, possibly some story that you've got running that says, we have to keep this, the royal we have to keep this because of X, Y, or Z reason, X, Y, or Z story, X, Y, or Z, one of our 200 lies. So you can dig in and say, this must be this way, because the opportunity here is to look at, does the story still serve me? Am I happy holding on to this, or do I just feel really right? Because history is filled with cautionary tales of people, I mean, whether they're in fiction or in real life, right? I mean, we can look at Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, and certainly he lived in a great deal of rightness, of certitude, and he was morally bankrupt and completely alone and isolated. And then he surrendered his need to be right and was laughing by the end of the book, right? Certainly the stage play that we all know from Christmas time, or any of the movies. He had a spiritual transformation. There was also some interruption, some intervention from all those ghosts of Christmas future, Christmas past, etc. Again, without getting lost down any sort of a rabbit hole, if we just look at Scrooge and his choices, we can see that we can extrapolate from that, where am I making the Scroogey choices? And it's not about necessarily miserliness as much as where is the willfulness or the desire to hold on to something even when it no longer serves us, just because it's the way things have always been done, or it's comfortable and the uncertainty of letting something go feels scarier than the reality of doing what we know how to do or what we've already done. Even if it hasn't been super successful for us, there's a desire to hold on to it. So I know that for me, when I'm at that fork in the road, it's a real eye-opener, because again, I can be very stubborn and very willful, and I want what I want when I want it. And I will sometimes pursue what I want to the detriment of my well-being, because it's habitual. It's not a particularly considered point of view, and it has been successful enough for me in the past that I have a track record of, well, if I don't know what I'll get if I surrender this, and I do know that sometimes I get what I want and sometimes I'm abjectly, horribly miserable, which is the better gamble? And if I'm not in my right mind, if I'm not thinking clearly, I will still charge off down the wrong path. I had an incident the other day where I started yelling at my postal carrier because my mail wasn't in my mailbox when I came back from being on the road. And my side of the street is I yelled at him and that belongs to me. I mean, his side of the street is his problem to clean up. He miscommunicated some things. I jumped to some conclusions and we yelled at each other, and then we made up and shook hands and we're fine now. That also came from me being willing to say I was sorry. So all of this, when we're thinking about it through the lens of clutter, right? And whether you're doing this by yourself or you're doing it with other people, as you double down into that rightness and you become more and more rigid and unyielding, it's if there's an opportunity to observe, what is this doing to my heart? What is this doing to my sense of well-being, right? I'm so committed to winning this argument that now I'm really agitated and upset. And so whether it's with an inanimate object or it's with another human being, we can always stop. Even if, like with the postal carrier, you've crossed the line and now you're yelling. Whether, again, you're yelling at yourself, you're yelling out loud into space, or you're yelling at another human being. At any moment, you can interrupt that and say, okay, time out. This needs to change. I am sorry. I'm taking responsibility for my own part, and I want to make a different choice here. I do want to be happy, and I do want to be more happy than I want to be right. So that's the attitude adjustment that then yields a different outcome for us. Specifically around clutter, it might help you let go of some things that the only reason you were holding on to them was because of an old story, particularly a story that was bound up in certitude, that was bound up in being right and asserting whatever story you have that needed to be unassailed, where you had tied a degree of emotional security or safety to that story. So you get to look at, in the olden days, right, in the past, this served me. It doesn't any longer, and now it's hurting. Can I let it go? So this is a process. It's a tool to have in your tool belt as you are walking through your decluttering process, your simplifying process. Just when things start to get a little intense, you can always pause and ask yourself, do I want to be right here, or would I rather be happy? And see which one makes more sense. I don't know that there's an absolute right answer on how to do this every time. I think there is an opportunity every time to ask yourself that key question. That's it for today. I look forward to being back with you again real soon.